This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Hello, everyone. Mike Tirico, Rodney Harrison, Mike Florio, Tony Dungy, of course, by my side here. I texted somebody this morning. We were talking about the NFL and the season and all the other stuff. And it's like, we're playing football in November, which maybe in July and August a lot of us didn't think we'd see. But here we are. And not only did we play football to start November, we got as good a Sunday as we've had through the day. The day games were early. The late afternoon games had some dramatic finishes. Rodney, I want to start with you with the biggest game of the day, and that was Pittsburgh trying to stay undefeated and doing so against Baltimore. Now that you've seen those teams go head-to-head, what's your takeaway with each side?
Well, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was thoroughly impressed, and Coach said it earlier in the pregame show. He talked about Mike Tomlin doing whatever he had to do to win the football game. At first, I'm looking at it from a defensive standpoint. I'm saying they rushed for over 200 yards. You got to be mad at yourself. You blew some coverages in the secondary, but the Pittsburgh Steelers showed a tremendous amount of resiliency and just trust amongst each other, and they were able to finish the game.
I think that's what you're seeing in the Steelers. Every week it's a little different. Sometimes they're running the ball. Sometimes it's big plays, Chase Claypool coming through. But that defense seems to, whether it's, hey, we've got to stop the run, clamp down on that, we've got to get takeaways, we've got to pressure the passer. They're doing whatever it takes. And I think Mike Tomlin likes this team. Yeah,
Mike Florio, you talked to Minkah Fitzpatrick, who made the play at the end of the game to save what would have been Baltimore's game-winning touchdown.
And, it was just a few weeks ago that Lamar Jackson said that the Chiefs are the Ravens' kryptonite. I'm not up on my Superman trivia. The Steelers are something to Lamar Jackson. Last year, it was 5 sacks and 3 interceptions in a game that the Ravens narrowly won, even though the Steelers didn't have Ben Roethlisberger, and they got a great play by Marlon Humphrey in overtime to pop the ball loose and give the Ravens a short field to win it. Then today, Lamar Jackson just didn't look like the guy who was the MVP. So he's got a Steelers problem. And one thing Minkah Fitzpatrick told me, the Steelers are very aggressive when it comes to quarterbacks who dare to run. We see a lot of teams, defenses, who shy away from contacting a quarterback who becomes a running back, not the Steelers. Now, Fitzpatrick said it doesn't faze Lamar Jackson. He doesn't shy away from running, but maybe all that physicality is one of the factors why he's just not the same against the Steelers as he is against everyone else.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh plays some unconventional things. They bring blitzes from different places. They play a lot more zone coverage against Baltimore than most people do. And those 7 takeaways, that's a little confusion in Lamar Jackson's mind, I think.
So, Rodney,
hey, Coach,
you go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to ask you, why do you think not Mike Tomlin, but Harbaugh, it seemed like they're trying to force Lamar to become this passer, that passes for 350 yards, 400 yards, instead of just settling for who he is and running the football and playing good defense?
I think they get in. We've seen it against Kansas City, and we've seen it against Pittsburgh. I think they think, okay, we've got to do a little bit more. We've got to score more. We're going to have to do something special instead of just doing what they do. They pounded the ball for 265 today. Right. Had they run it a little more, they might have won the ball game.
And Rodney, you can take over as host because I was going to pose the same question. I was going to pose the same question to you about Lamar Jackson, because they've lost to Kansas City and they've lost here to Pittsburgh. And when they have to try to come from behind, they've got to pass, and they're just not the same offensive team. So what do you see as you watch them in those situations?
I see the same thing. I see them dropping back, trying to pass the ball all over the place, and it almost feels like they have so much confidence in the run, and they say, you know what, we know we can run the football, but what we're going to do in the midst of this game, we're going to try to really open up our passing game. And you saw Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. He was very upset after the game because he wants more opportunities, but overall, Baltimore, they can't turn the ball over, and that's the key. You can't turn the ball over against Pittsburgh and expect to beat them.
Those two teams will rematch on Thanksgiving on NBC, and that's a game Baltimore's going to have to get because they're already 2.5 back, essentially, with the tiebreaker. For everybody in graphics, I'm going to mess up the order here. I'm going to go to the team that was on the bottom of those standings, Cincinnati next. Cincinnati played Tennessee, and that, to me, was the surprise of the day because I thought that was a get-right game, Tony, for Tennessee. And Joe Burrow and Cincinnati continue to figure out a way to keep improving here, even though they don't have the people around them that other teams do.
No, Joe Burrow has to be a special guy because even these games they're losing, and we say Cincinnati's not winning, they're playing exciting ball, the team is fired up to go. He and T. Higgins are developing something special, and he seems like he's got them in every single game.
And you think about, Coach, you think about Joe Burrow and just how good of a person he is and how much those veteran players must really like him, because he came out after the game, he complimented the offensive line, he complimented everybody else, and when all the attention was really on him, but he said, you know, I don't want the attention. I'm going to compliment my guys. So I just really like this kid. I think he's fantastic on the football field, but I think he's a better locker room guy.
Kind of as a reminder, Mike Florio, really 14 months ago, September of 2019, LSU is starting their run to the national championship. Joe Burrow's still being thought of by NFL folks as a fifth-round pick, and there he ascends to the top. And, Mike, he has come in here as a #1 pick without a ton around him, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and he's done some really, really good things.
Yeah, and he's fearless, even though he may want to be a little more careful with his body as the season unfolds. But they've got a bye week now. He's very confident. I mentioned during Football Night in America, we hear all the cliches from pretty much every coach and player that we take one game at a time. We don't peek ahead on the schedule. He's telling me that they've got 4 or 5 winnable games coming up. I don't know that I agree with him right out of the gates because the next game is Pittsburgh. But after that, there are 4 games that, you know, but the way they played today, maybe they are winnable games. I don't know. I mean, it's to have 4 new offensive linemen from last week and to pull it all together and to have no sacks and to play with that confidence and beat a Titans team that is pretty good. I mean, I saw that spread at 5.5. The Titans given 5.5. I thought it was a joke. I thought the Titans would win this game easily. It just shows you never know what's going on in the NFL until it's time to go play the games.
Well, the other side of that coin, Mike, you mentioned no sacks against that new offensive line. Tennessee is not generating pass rush. They went out and got Jadeveon Clowney. That hasn't translated into anything. That's an Achilles heel for them right now. They're going to have to figure out a way to rush the passer if they want to be an elite team.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you look up and Tennessee's tied with Indianapolis. Hey, I really wasn't looking at the board this week and saying, oh, you know, Indianapolis go win at Detroit, Tennessee lose, and Indy's going to be tied for first. In 11 days, Tennessee and Indianapolis play a Thursday night game. That's going to be a huge game for both teams.
It is. These two teams know each other very well. They've played a lot of big games in the past, but they're going to have to put pressure on Phillip Rivers if they want to win that game.
All right, now I will return to our order because I was supposed to talk about Miami and Buffalo second, and I jumped the gun a little bit because I saw Cincinnati up there in the standings. Miami and Buffalo, Rodney, this is all of a sudden a different story in the AFC East. Now that we're almost halfway through, do you feel like these are the 2 teams that are going to be the 2 that are battling for the AFC East crown this year?
All I say is this. I know the Patriots look terrible today and Cam Newton didn't play well.
No, you're not going to do it. You're not going to say it, are you?
No, I'm not going to say it, Mike, but all I'm saying is it's not like Coach Belichick is going to throw the towel in. He's going to continue to fight and claw, and he's going to get that team to respond. But as far as the 2 top teams in the AFC East, yes, it was definitely the Buffalo Bills. And Brian Flores, head coach, he's doing a great job down there. I mean, he's assembled great talent, both on offense, defense, good veteran leadership, and good guys in the locker room. So the future is definitely bright for the Miami Dolphins.
No, I agree with you. Coach Belichick fixes things better than anybody in football, but I just don't know if there's enough time. They've got so many guys injured. The opt-outs that they had before the season started on defense, that's showing up. I just don't think there's enough there. Buffalo is a good team. They've got some flaws. Miami, I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, why are you going to Tua? Fitz is playing really well. You got a chance to be in this thing. But they won with a rookie quarterback making his first start today and beat a team that we thought was pretty good in the Rams.
So, Mike, what are they doing with Tua?
Well, look, they had planned, I believe, all along for him to become the starter during the bye week. And the bye week got accelerated. And it was supposed to be the Jets on the other side of the bye week. It was Tua thrown to the Rams, and, it worked out because the defense was so good today. I mean, if the defense plays like this every week, it won't matter who's playing quarterback. They can bring back Bob Greasy for crying out loud, and his glasses that he used to wear during games. But, I think that this Dolphins team has the potential to make things very interesting. They played the Bills tough in week 2 when Fitzpatrick was the quarterback. The Bills have seemed a little wobbly, but I still would not recommend singing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. I said it last week about the Patriots. Do not give them any opportunity. Do not give them any life, because they can be very dangerous if they find a path to January.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, Coach, when I watch Buffalo's film, what a lot of teams are doing with Buffalo is they're taking away the big play down the field. And that's why Josh Allen is sitting back there. He's holding the ball. He's patting it. He's trying to figure out. Teams are taking away. And that's been 3 straight consecutive games where they're taking away the deep pass. They're trying to force him to dink and dunk and trying to force him into mistakes. And that was the exact same game plan the Patriots had today.
2 really fascinating games coming up from Buffalo. Seattle comes to Orchard Park next week, and then they go to Arizona, take on Kyler Murray, which will be fun to watch those 2 guys. And by the way, speaking of Arizona, that's where Miami goes next. Kyler against Tua next Sunday. So these young quarterbacks, there's so many of them in the league, and we're going to see 2 of the exciting ones, #1 picks, go head-to-head.
That is going to be fun to watch. And which defense is going to be able to contain that other quarterback? We'll see what happens. Arizona's playing with a lot of confidence right now, but so is Miami.
This is a preview of the speed round real quick, Rodney. Bill Belichick, tie game, 14-14, second half, onside kick. What did that say to you?
It told me that Bill Belichick does not trust his defense, because at that point in time in the game, you just scored, you went for the 2-point conversion, you kick off and you give your defense a break. You don't put them in a situation where they're at the 50 or 40-yard line and now their backs against the wall. So I was really disappointed in Coach Belichick for even doing something like that after fighting and clawing so hard to get back into the game, Mike.
Yeah, that signaled to me a little bit of desperation. I mean, New England has always had Buffalo's number. They've never had to do anything crazy to try to win a game. That's something you would expect from Buffalo in years past.
Right.
So we've got an onside kick to beat the Patriots. And now when you see New England trying to do that, that tells me I don't have a lot of confidence in my unit.
And good for the folks up in Western New York. Sean McDermott beats the Patriots for the first time. The Patriots, Bills fans, go to sleep in November with their team leading the division. That hasn't happened in a long time, so that's got to feel good. Mike Florio, I'm going to come to you on the Minnesota Vikings. You seem to know a thing or two about this team. Where'd that come from in Green Bay?
Well, it's funny. We had Kyle Rudolph, the longtime Vikings tight end and offensive captain, on PFTPM on Friday, and I sensed the confidence in him that made me want to say, have you checked your record? Have you watched any of your games? But, he believed, and the Vikings clearly believe, that they're better than their record suggests, and they used the bye week to identify things that they weren't doing right. And one thing Dalvin Cook told me after the game, Mike Zimmer has been extra hard on the team lately when they've blown these leads and blown these games that they should have won. Cook says, I love that kind of coaching. He responded to it well, obviously. And another thing that Cook does, he told me after the first drive of the game, he came over to the sidelines. He went to the running backs coach, Kennedy Polamalu. He went to the offensive line coach, Rick Dennison, and he told them, look, these are the plays that you need to call for me. And I think maybe they should just make him the offensive coordinator based upon the way it went.
Well, it helps when he's in the lineup, too.
Yeah,
you could call the same plays, and he's not running the ball, and they're not quite as effective. But I'll give you the little secret weapon, Mike. And not too many people know this, but the Vikings have chapel via Zoom on Saturday night. Someone in our presence has done 2 chapels for them, one the Houston game and one this Green Bay game. I think my next chapel is scheduled for 3 weeks, so you might look for them to win 3 weeks from now.
Wait a minute, hang on. Wait, Rodney, I'm sorry. I'm getting requests right now. Can you book Tony for a quick chapel for me? He called his own number there. I love that. Go ahead, Rods. I'm sorry.
Coach, stop patting yourself on the back. You're going to break your wrist by patting yourself on the back.
It's just a coincidence.
So, Rodney, you didn't think it was me that had chapel for the Vikings, huh?
Mike, I know you're a very spiritual man, but I know Coach.
That's right. Period. What'd you make of the Packers-Vikings game, Rod?
I think the Minnesota Vikings are just a completely different team with Dalvin Cook in the lineup. And he talked about having the tight end, Big Rudolph, there on PFT PM. And that's probably a reason why he was so confident, Mike Florio, because he knew that Dalvin Cook was playing. They just play with so much more energy. They play tougher. They play more physical when they have their lead running back in the game.
Rodney, plug in all the shows on Peacock Don't forget
He's
safety
got
blitz.
50 of them.
I know. Don't forget safety blitz, too. I mean, why not, right? All right, speed round time. Rodney, I'll let you kick this off here. What is the ceiling for the Bears offense?
What is the ceiling for the Bears offense? They got to find a new quarterback. I mean, it's just the offensive line. Offensive line, Nick Foles doesn't have any time back there. He's got some weapons. He just doesn't have much time.
I'm going to say the ceiling is at about 5'6". It's not very high at all.
Yeah.
And they've got to get back to the running game. When they played well a couple years ago, they were running the ball and then the RPOs and the play action off it. If they can't run it, it's going to be a long year.
You know, Matt Nagy said after the loss to the Rams on Monday night about the offensive line, it's not like I can just say, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. You're trying to change a tire on a moving car, trying to make an offensive line better during the season, and that's the problem. Nick Foles doesn't have time to set up and throw. The running game is atrocious. I'm surprised they scored as many points as they did today against the Saints, guys.
I was stunned that they came back the way their offense had just come to a stop in the third quarter. Yeah. The fact they were able to score those points at the end and get the game to overtime was almost as shocking as the Broncos were. I'll get to them in a second. Tony, I'll go you first, then Rodney. How did the 49ers get shut down by the Seahawks?
Well, you were wondering who was going to be their runner. All the backs are hurt. Deebo Samuel, who's been back there, he was hurt. But I still thought Kyle Shanahan, that offensive line, would be able to pound out some holes. But there were no holes early. Seattle went in and said, you know what, we're going to stop this running game. We're going to make Jimmy Garoppolo throw. And Garoppolo was not effective throwing the football.
Yeah, Mike, I just say it like this. Sometimes as a team, when you've had success and you go on the road, you win, you have a couple big games, there's a possibility for a letdown, and I thought it was today.
I think the Seahawks also realized you can't live dangerously every week. You can't have close games. One of these games, you got to suck it up and kick the other team's butt so you don't sweat it all the way out until the end of regulation or until the end of overtime as it was last week.
San Francisco's at 4-4, and that's last in that division. 3 back in the loss column from Seattle with the head-to-head as well. I mentioned the Broncos. Mike, I'll start with you. How did the Broncos beat the Chargers?
You know, I don't know, because that's one of those games you quit paying attention to. I know I did. Right? But Saints-Bears, that's the interesting game. Hey, Seahawks, look at what they're doing. It's like, oh, the Chargers have this game won easily. But this is what Drew Lock can do for them. This is why they believe in Drew Lock, the confidence he brings to the table. If he can stay healthy and if he can avoid making stupid mistakes, he's got the chance to be really special. And today's the kind of thing that will build confidence for him and for the team around him.
Well, I'll say, Rodney, it's because they were playing the Chargers. I don't know who else blows more double-digit. Well, maybe the Lions blow as many double-digit leads, but the Chargers just fell apart completely in that second half.
Mike Tirico, the point that coach is making, I'm just going to double down on that.
Double down on that. That does make a lot of sense. You know how they do those win percentages, and like when this happens, the win percentage. If you just took the game situation plus watching how bad the Broncos offense, it would have been at 110%. There was no way that they were going to come back in that game. And credit to them. Denver has a hang-in-there factor that is just amazing, the opposite of the Chargers. All right, guys, this is about as good a weekend as you could pile up in terms of championship sporting events on one network. We've got 4 big-time ones in different sports, so you will all be forced to pick winners here. We're going to start with the Breeders' Cup Classic that caps off that great annual weekend of horse racing. It's at Keeneland. Tony, I'll let you go first. Pick me a winner in the Classic.
Well, I always pick my horses by name.
Okay.
And I love Authentic. I think Authentic is the real deal.
I like it. All right, Rodney?
Coach, I picked this choice based off of you, and it's Higher Power.
There you go.
it just resonated with me, Coach.
That's good. That's good. Mike?
I'll go with improbable because based upon my knowledge of horse racing, it's highly improbable that my pick's going to be right.
I figured someone who had counselor around his name would pick Tis the Law, but you know, I'm going to pick Maximum Security. It's 20 minutes of my life at the Kentucky Derby in 2019 that I'll never forget, involving Maximum Security, who's come back to have a sensational year, winning all around. I think Maximum Security wins that, will win Horse of the Year. Clemson, Notre Dame, like my friends on College Game Day like to say, Tony and I are doing the game, so we can't make a pick. So, Rodney, it's up to you, Mike.
Oh, come on, dude.
I'll text you if you want Friday night, but what do you think?
I'm going Clemson because I know both of you guys are picking Notre Dame because you get paid. to pick Notre Dame. So, of course, you're going to be biased, Mike and Coach Dungy, but I'm taking Clemson. They haven't seen any speed like Clemson's, even without the starting quarterback.
Well, that's the thing. No Trevor Lawrence. I'll take Notre Dame because of no Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully he's not suffering any serious symptoms and he'll be back and playing for them soon. But without him, I just can't imagine them beating Notre Dame.
It takes away something from the game, not having Trevor Lawrence, but watching DJ Uiagalelei play for the first time as a start against Boston College, it's going to be not much of a drop-off for Clemson offensively.
I'll tell you what, he will not be the problem. If they don't win the game, he threw for almost 350 yards in his first start that came with basically no practice. So I'm looking for a great game.
It should be a great scene in South Bend. That's Saturday night.
So Notre Dame for you guys.
On NBC.
No,
again, Rodney, we don't
that.
make a pick. We are very neutral. We don't care who wins. It impacts our lives.
Hey, Coach, you can hit me up later after the show and let me know who you're picking, okay?
I will do that.
I'd be happy to share that with you. On Sunday, we can pick who's going to win the NASCAR Cup Series Championship down to the Final Four in Phoenix. Tony, who do you like?
Well, I picked my horses by name. I picked my cars by number. Chase Elliott is number 9. That was my college number, so I'm going with Chase.
All right, Rodney?
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin, and all I say to everyone out there, put some respect on his name. This dude is the real deal, all right? Just check the stats.
All right, there you go. Mike?
I'll go with Joey Logano, and I have a high-level analytics explanation for it. It was the first name I noticed when I looked down.
That's good. Well, we've each got somebody in the fight here because I'm going Brad Keselowski, Michigan guy.
Yes.
He's won the championship before. I love Brad, so I'll go with Brad Keselowski. Lastly, Sunday Night Football, the Saints and the Buccaneers. It's Breeze and Brady. The guys have been trading the all-time touchdown record. But you can't make a pick now because that has to come on Football Night in America. But give me one thought about that game as we look ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tampa is a much different team now than opening day. The chemistry is much better. Tom Brady knows this offense better. He knows his players better. Will we see Antonio Brown? That's the big question.
I would say, can Drew Brees handle this pressure defense? They're going to come after Drew Brees. They're going to show him a lot of different looks, and they're going to try to hit old man Brees. See if he can handle the blitz.
Hey, Coach, I think we are going to see Antonio Brown. I think we're going to see him a lot. They didn't rule out using him in the return game. And I just think after looking at all of the transcripts of the press conferences this past week of Coach Bruce Arians, and I watched Tom Brady's press conference, I have a feeling this Antonio Brown thing has been in the works for a while. And I have a feeling he knows a lot more about the playbook than a guy who would just be signed off the street. And I think he's been hanging around Tom Brady a lot more than anyone realizes. So he's going to be ready to go next Sunday night.
What a weekend. Breeders' Cup Saturday night Notre Dame Clemson, Sunday the NASCAR Cup Series finale, and Sunday night the Bucs and the Saints. We're going to need a great sports weekend to kick back, and we will have it for you here on NBC. Till then, Rodney, we have a private chapel service here, so we'll check in with you a little bit later.
All right, Notre Dame guys.
Have a safe week, everybody. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.